Donating a second chance. Every time you think about saving someone's life, you probably think about Robin Hood, or a superhero like Batman or Wonder Woman, or even one of those Mission Impossible movies where you imagine that you are incredible good in martial arts, or guns, or explosives, or all of those things. And once you think about exactly that, the thing that seems to be impossible is actually saving a life, because you need to have all those skills to do it. However, there are many ways to save lives. In not all of those ways, you need to have all those skills. Hello everyone, my name is Martin Duran, and I am here to talk about the importance of donating organs and some ways to increase the number of donors in every country in the world. A lot of people die because of diabetes, cancer, or other undesirable situations. However, these situations can be prevented if there were enough organ donors. According to UNOS, every 10 minutes, someone is added to the national transplant waiting list, and on average, 20 people die every day while waiting for a transplant. According to the US government information on organ donation and transplantation, there are right now 114,000 of people on the national transplant waiting list. However, there are only 7,106 donors. This is a ridiculous number since 95% of the US adults support organs donation. This demonstrates how important it is that more people register as an organ donor, since each one of the donors can save 8 lives. Since there are 8 different parts of the body that can be donated to someone in need. In case someone in this room is still needing some motivation to register as a donor, let me share with you the story of 2 young people that are in the waiting list for a donor. Jim, that is waiting for a heart transplant, and Simon, that is waiting for a kidney transplant. Jim Lindsay is 22 years old from Birmingham. He needs a heart transplant and had an LVAD, left ventricular assist device, heart pump fitted in the bridge to surgery. However, his pump failed in October. He was told by his doctor that he was the first person in the UK to have a sudden LVAD failure. Jim was studying at the Sheffield Hallam University when the alarm sounded on his pump. He had an urgent 12-hour operation to fit the second LVAD. Jim said, "I heard and felt the pump switch off, and I thought, this is not good." It was shocking because never expect it to happen. After the shock wore off, I started to feel dizzy and sick, just like I was going to pass out. I called for my friend around the corner to get an ambulance. Jim spent his 25th birthday recovering from surgery, and he's temporarily off the waiting list while he recovers. Jim has a meningitis virus infection in his heart when he was a child, which caused his heart to fail. He said, "I can receive a transplant this Christmas, but there are around 300 people on the heart transplant waiting list who desperately need that ultimate gift. I really want everyone to tell their families, I want to save lives by donating." It is hard to think about transplant for myself at the moment because I know it will be a massive operation and I feel it will be the final throw of the dice in a way. I was told I have around 3 years with the LVAD before I got a transplant, and it's now 3 years later, and to be getting another LVAD instead of a heart, it's pretty gutting. That was Jim, that has only 22 years old. Simon was born with renal dysplasia, a serious kidney condition. Simon had his first kidney transplant in 2005, thanks to his mom offering to be a living donor. Unfortunately, in 2009, the kidney failed. Simon was added to the transplant waiting list for a new kidney and has been waiting for longer than 6 years already. Simon's day is dominated by his illness. His day is punctuated with 4 life-saving sessions of dialysis, undescribable fatigue, and constant uncertainty for the future as he and his family live in hope that a suitable donor organ will become available. Talking about how the being on dialysis and waiting for a transplant has affected his wife and his family, Simon said, "I have been on dialysis for 5 years. For me, it's the most difficult part of the wait. Dialysis keeps me alive while I wait for a transplant, but that's all it does. I am a limbo. My family and I are on a roller coaster, and like a roller coaster, I can't see the twists and turns or how it will end. But a transplant will completely transform my health and all our lives." Waiting for a transplant is not like waiting for anything else. You don't necessarily get nearer to the top of the list the longer you have been on it. It depends on many factors, including who is in greatest need and who is the best match for an organ. It's an endless wait with no ETA. Simon is one of the over 5,000 people who are on the waiting list for a kidney. Over 450 of those people have already waited longer than 5 years. These are only 2 of hundreds of stories that you can find in Yes, I Donate organ donation website. Knowing all of these numbers, the only question left is, what can we do? And the answer is extremely easy. We can do what Spain does, the country with the highest rate of donors in the world. In Spain, all the citizens are automatically included as organ donors. And although they do have the option of not being donors, only 15.3% choose not to be a donor, according to More to Give website. This led to 39.7 people per million in 2015 to donate to people in need. In conclusion, hundreds of people die each year waiting for a transplant, and there are other hundreds of people in the waiting list. A lot of this death can be prevented if we only registered as donors or if the government decided to include every citizen to the donor list automatically. And remember, only one body can save up to 8 lives. That makes you more than important. You can donate a second chance 8 times. Thank you.